Yay, I'm excited to be here, and thanks for joining me. This is the podcast. It's the Advice Column podcast, where I troll advice columns across the internet and kind of pull the most interesting questions that I think would probably be of interest to you. You know, they're on topics ranging from A to Z, everything in between. You know, everything is on the table. So, I've got a good question for you guys this week. I'm going to answer the question after the break, but I kind of wanted to run down a couple of things with you guys that I may not be explaining as I go along. I realize that I'm kind of just jumping into the questions and giving my answers on them. But first and foremost, I want your feedback. You know, I definitely want you guys to feel like this is a discussion between the both of us on these problems, because these problems that I'm choosing, I know are problems that either a lot of people may not have necessarily experienced, but you may, of course, know people who have. And they certainly are on topics that kind of affect us all. So, you know, if you feel like you want to give your advice on these questions, on these problems, and offer your feedback for these people, then by all means, you can reach out to me. Go to the blog, to the website, nobodyaskpodcast.com. And each episode will be uploaded as a separate blog post, and the question will be there typed out, but also you can listen to and download the episode of the podcast there. You can leave a comment in the comment section, or you can send me an email, and you can send an email to ask@nobodyaskpodcast.com. Or here's a good thing. You can leave a voicemail. Just go there. You can either click the tab on the right side of the website where it says leave feedback, or in each individual blog post, you'll see, leave a voicemail in there, and feel free to leave a voicemail offering your feedback, which, by the way, might be different than mine. I don't in any way claim to know everything, not far from it. As a matter of fact, this is just to kind of get an open dialogue going on some of these topics that befuddle us, to say the least. So do that, and I will read your feedback and play the best ones on air. I know technically it's on a radio, so I probably shouldn't say on air, but you get what I'm saying, in the next episode of the show. Duh. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, don't forget to subscribe and review. I don't like to really kind of ask for reviews, but by all means, if you feel like you're hearing something that you're digging, I would really appreciate it if you let me know that in the review section on iTunes. That would be cool. I'm brand new, and I got to tell you something. I'm not doing this because I feel like I have to have 1 million people following me, or like I've got to get sponsorship. I want to make $1 million. And yeah, sure, that would be nice, but that's not the goal for me here. The goal is to really just kind of get some conversation going around some really good topics. And I feel personally that we're probably all really interested in hearing how other people deal with problems. And I think there is an advice maven in just about everyone, because you know that saying, it's easier to give advice than it is to follow it, right? So I use the quote, everybody's got an opinion, because everybody does. So this is the show where you can share your opinion on what some other people are going through. Now, the other thing that this leads me to is the questions that I'm pulling are from advice columns across the internet. Just want to be clear on that. No one is sending Charlie questions about their lives, and I'm so not interested in doing that for a number of reasons. So please know that these questions that I'm reading, I will always credit the advice column that I'm pulling them from. And also in the blog post, you will have a link to that original blog post on the advice column. So you can always go over there and check it out and see what the advice columnist said, which may very well, again, differ from what I say the answer or solution might be for that problem. And also a lot of times on those advice column pages, they have commentary left by readers as well. So it may be interesting to read that. But I always want to give credit where credit is due. And also know that some of these questions, a lot of them are actually old. Some of them are very new. I'm always kind of going through advice columns. So yeah, just know that. All right. The other thing is, I don't read the advice columnist's response, because I think that would kind of affect my feedback. Unintentionally, of course, but I don't want to I don't want to read anyone else's opinion of the question before I get to it. So, but you're more than welcome to do that. And let me see what else. Ooh, Charlie, what are your notes? So anyway, let's get to this question this week. Now, this is a question that's a little scandalous, should I say? Let me ask you guys a question. Have you ever gotten drunk and then slept with someone and woke up the next morning and thought, oh God, did I really? Oh, not the best move. Okay, I think a lot of people, now don't ask me if I did, if I've done that. I'm gonna tell you right now, I think everyone, if you're grown and you've lived long enough, I think everyone has slept with someone and thought to themselves, not the best move. If I could go back and redo that, I would definitely undo that moment. But anyway, the woman who's writing in this week, or this letter that I got my hands on, this problem, is from a woman who has a really sordid, I call it a hot mess. It just is what it is. It's pure unadulterated fuckery, and it's a it's the type of situation that adults you would think would probably know not to get themselves into, but it happens. It happens a lot. Best friend, husband, threesome, drinking. There you go. Can anything good come of that? Well, I don't know. We'll find out. Stick around. I'm going to give you my feedback on it. I have one more thing to say. I have an announcement to make. am doing an event with Catherine Bevel Jones, who's an amazing live stream producer in New York City. And it's called How to Live Stream A to Z. And it will cover multicam and mobile live streaming platforms, how to grow your brand on it, how to, grow a community, how to create compelling, really good content. So if you're interested in that, I will have that link in the show notes and you guys can check it out. It's $75, but you get so much in those 3 hours, and you get fed and you get drinks and you get a live comedy that you get to live stream. So yeah, check it out if you want. And everything else that I talk about will be in the show notes. I look forward to your feedback. Thank you for joining me. Here we go. Should've known you'd never be mine. Well, fuck you. She will never be better. I know it to be true. Is what I'd say if I were as cold as you. This problem was sent into Amy Dickinson's advice column, and the person calls themselves Upset. All right. Upset writes, my best friend came to my house last weekend after her breakup with her boyfriend. She brought a bottle of scotch. My husband joined us and we kept drinking, and things started to get cozy among the three of us. My husband had sex with my friend and me in succession. Now, I encouraged this at the time. The next morning, she left our house without saying a word. She texted me that she'll never see me again as long as I'm married to my husband. I feel totally terrible. I tried to talk about it, and my husband said it was the best sex experience of his life. He shows no remorse. He even said he would like to do it again. As I was also involved, there was no case of cheating, right? I honestly don't remember much. Did he cheat on me? Can I hold him responsible? I mean, it was my friend who bought the alcohol, and I persuaded my husband to join the party. Signed, Upset. So what we have here is a big mess. This is all over the place. First of all, anytime, guys, you know this, right? Anytime alcohol is involved and a situation happens, and then the person who's all confused says, I don't remember anything, that's a situation that's not going to be resolved easily. All right. And I'm going to be honest with you. Look, this is just me. I don't know how you all get down, but whenever I hear someone begin to look to assign blame on a situation or on circumstances that they themselves co-created, I begin to think that person is the type of person who doesn't want to address problems within themselves, right? Because anytime somebody starts saying, hey, it was him, it was her, she did it, it's like, dude, really? If you're doing all of that finger pointing, then you're probably the problem. You know what I'm saying? So I look at this letter, and it's like, All right, let's just start getting into it here. Let's get into the meat of it. But let me just say something. That whole like, I got drunk and therefore this and that's why that is just bullshit. I mean, that flies when you're in college. And even then, I mean, you're always responsible for your actions. You know, I hate when people say, it just happened. We just got drunk. Nobody just gets drunk. All right. We all know what our limitations are. If you're over the age of 20, you know when you're getting shit-faced drunk. You know when you take that next, you know what I'm saying? Like, Still, I mean, things happen, you know, but it's just the willingness of people to put it all off on alcohol and to think that that's an acceptable, you know, excuse, or as if that absolves them of their lack of judgment is, to me, anyways, it's just BS. But let's get into this. Let's look at this, because upset is upset. All right. So the first things I like to do is look at the questions. And the question she's asking is, the first one is, there was no case of cheating, right? And, you know, that and followed by, I honestly don't remember much. Let's start with that, because I'm going to tell you, upset, you may not remember much, but you remember the important things that matter. Okay. You remember the things that matter based on this letter that you're sending. That's going to give you a clue, a really good clue about what happened and where to go from here. You remember that that your husband had sex with your best friend. You remember that your best friend was upset and came to you crying, or, you know, she just broke up with her boyfriend and she needed a shoulder to cry on or whatever. You remember that. All right. So, and you remember, as you say, if you go back up to the top, let's go back up to the top paragraph. My husband had sex with my friend and me in succession. I encouraged this at the time. So to answer your own question of if this was cheating, no. Okay. Because you encouraged it at the time. You also allowed your husband to come into a conversation that was actually pretty personal and intimate, I would think, between you and your girlfriend. Your girl comes to you and she's like, boo-hoo, you know, my boyfriend and he's left me. And who knows, she probably still has feelings for her boyfriend. You know how breakups are. She probably just needed to get some shit off her chest and find out if she was making the right decision or whatever. And you allowed your husband to come into the middle of that. Okay. So no, darling, it's not cheating. Take that question mark out of that. And I think your confusion and your inability to, or your unwillingness, I don't know if it's unwillingness or what, but your unwillingness, we'll say, to accept responsibility for this problem is the core of the problem. That's what I think. All right. I mean, I honestly don't remember. Bullshit. You remember enough. You don't have to, at this point, you don't have to remember everything. You remember the important things. You remember seeing your husband fucking your best friend. You remember that you encouraged it. You remembered that your friend was upset when she left. Boom. Okay. So I'm saying that to say, I think a lot of times when we say, I don't remember, we use that as some sort of security blanket and as a way to avoid admitting what we already know. So if you really want to get to the heart of this problem, stop saying you don't remember. You remember enough. Okay. And everybody else does too. Right. All right. So let's move on from there. All right. Did he cheat on me? Of course not. I just answered that question. Right. Can I hold him responsible? Responsible for what? You know, responsible for what? The three of you are grown adults. You're all adults. And, while this situation is really shady, and I'm going to tell you why I don't like what I don't like about it personally, everybody in this situation was an adult. No one was forced to do what they did, and everybody has to accept responsibility for what they did, that it was a mistake, clearly. Well, except your husband, who's like, yeah, it was good, best night of my life, you know how men are. It was the best night of his life sexually, which is also disturbing, because now you guys as a couple, you have to live with that. You know, you can't put that genie back in the bottle. You gave him his fantasy, and it rocked his world, and now he's jerking off to it today and forevermore, and he's going to be asking you for threesomes. Trust me, even if you tell him, no more threesomes, in a year he's going to say, babe, let's get somebody else up in here. Let's trust me. But anyway, moving on. It was my friend who bought the alcohol, and I persuaded my husband to join the party. See, this is the second time you've said that you orchestrated this. The first time in this letter where you said, I encouraged this at the time. You said that in the first paragraph. And then in the last paragraph, you say, the last sentence, you say, I persuaded my husband to join the party. So you are in one sense acknowledging your that you orchestrated this, because you did, girl. You orchestrated this whole. I don't. When I say orchestrated, I'm not saying it was necessarily your at the outset that's what you set out to do, but it was your coercion and your kind of pushing this and needling this forward, because I don't think your husband would have done this without your approval, clearly. But you saying that you persuaded your husband to join the party, again, means you know that you orchestrated this. And I'm going to tell you the third thing that lets me know that you orchestrated this, and that you're not as like foggy about it as you like to say that you are, right? The second thing, what's this whole, my husband had sex with my friend and me in succession. Now, okay, let me take a break from this. Guys, is it just me, or is that in succession thing really creepy? Like, who says that, right? Like, you're talking about having a threesome. You had a threesome and it was hot and it was this and that. And then my he had sex with us in succession. That just, to me, sounds really, I mean, and I know what it means, one after the other. I get that. But it just sounds really, how can I put this, controlling and very, very orchestrated. Like, okay, her, now me, and that's it. Or her, and I don't know, there's something controlling about the way that she described this, and the fact that she's putting it in the first paragraph, and that you're using that to describe how you have sex. That means that there's something about how this went down that is not, this whole in succession thing. And clearly she, clearly upset you did not have sex with your girlfriend, with your best friend. It was your husband getting it in, and getting it in good, in succession. So anyway, that in succession thing tells me that you also were very much controlling about how it was to go down, right? Because you encouraged it. You said that twice. And then you said, this is how it's going to happen. First me, then her, and then her, then me, and then, whatever. So anyway, yeah. So you persuaded your husband to join. So now we got that out the way, and you yourself have to accept responsibility for that. I'm going to be honest with you. What concerns me about this, right? Mistakes happen, right? We know this shit goes down in relationships all the time. I don't believe in people beating themselves up over stuff. Life is hard. I do believe in accepting responsibility. In this case, everybody had a role in this, and at least accepting the circumstances and allowing themselves to get so shit-faced drunk that they welcomed poor judgment. All right, we've all been there. We've all done something while we were drunk or gotten out of hand. This is not a judgment about that, but it did get way too out of hand. So here's the thing, though. What bothers me about this upset is the questions that you're asking. This questions seem really selfish still. It's like you're spiraling into questioning and things that aren't really going to bring about the solution. So here's my thing. You can tell a lot about where a person is and how they're going to resolve a situation based on the questions they asked about how to resolve them. Okay. So now had Upset said in this letter, and Upset, no offense, but I'm just saying, had you said at the end of this letter, I'm really confused. I don't know what to do. My girlfriend's so upset. How can I get my relationship with my girlfriend back on track? I don't want her to hate me. What did I do? Or whatever. I would say, okay, all right, you're on the right track here. But the questions that you're asking as to what you think the problem is so far left. Did he cheat on me? Well, of course not. That's not even the issue. And, can I hold him responsible? What does that have to do with anything? There's something else going on here, guys. Trust me, that she's not telling us. There's a lot going on here that she's not telling us. That's why when it comes to couples and stuff like that, if she upset, if you were in front of me right now and we were having a drink and you were talking to me about this, I'd have a lot of questions, excuse me, guys. I'd have a lot of questions. But anyway, the whole thing was, and what's really disconcerting about this is that you end with this statement. And I'm telling you, when someone's telling you their problems, listen very closely to the first thing they say and the last thing they say, right? Because the first thing she says is, my best friend came to my house last weekend after her breakup. And the last thing she says is, it was my friend who brought the alcohol and I persuaded my husband to join the party. So do you guys see what I'm saying? You see the disconnect there? Your friend came to you for help. And in the first paragraph, you admit that she was coming to you after a bad breakup, doing what friends have been doing for eons. Girl, I have a bottle of something here. We're going to sit and talk. I need help. I'm whatever. I'm unhappy. I love him. I miss him. He was a bastard, whatever. But then in the last paragraph, you switch to blaming her for the situation. It was my friend who brought the alcohol. So fucking what? She was depressed. She was upset. That's what friends do. That's what, And I persuaded my husband to join the party. But the problem is that you're trying to blame everyone except yourself. So I'm going to bring it on back to that. And I'll be honest with you, your girlfriend, there's something else going on here. Again, guys, I look forward to your feedback on this, but I'm going to be honest with you. When you look at this first paragraph, she brought the scotch. My husband joined us. We had the threesome. The next morning she left. In succession, she left our house. She texted me that she'll never see me again as long as I'm married to my husband. So she is clearly very, very upset, and she's disgusted by your husband because she had sex with him, right? And she probably, obviously regrets it. No one forced her, but she felt vulnerable, and she was vulnerable. So she felt taken advantage of. Listen, you don't have to in order to feel vulnerable, you don't necessarily have to be pushed hard to do something. When you feel, let me rephrase that. When you are vulnerable, okay, like this girl was, she broke up with her boyfriend. She, was going through some things. And so she was vulnerable, right? That's it. And you do something that happens only because you were vulnerable. Would she have done this? Would she have fucked your husband if she wasn't so vulnerable? Probably not. It didn't happen before, so she's blaming your husband. And I don't know, there's something about your husband that I think is a little weird. Let me tell you guys something. This guy, after you talked to your husband about it and told him that she feels horrible, I'm assuming that's what happened. Right? She texted me. She doesn't want to see me again. I feel totally terrible. I tried to talk about it to my husband, and he said it was the best experience of his life and that he has no remorse and that he would like to do it again. See, there's something going on here, guys. Here's what I think. I think that your husband is a little douchey too, because after you explain to him the situation and he's still saying, yo, I loved it. Yo, that was the best night of my life. And that he has no remorse and he wants to do it again. There's something very insensitive about your husband. The fact that he understands now that she is so upset and that she regrets it, and he still feels this way, and he's not even being sensitive to your feelings. You're upset. At the least your husband should do is turn to you and say, oh, babe, wow, we messed up. We've got to fix this. What can we do to fix this? Because I don't want this. I don't want you to lose your friendship with your best friend. And I don't want her to feel uncomfortable coming over or anything. See, had he said that, I honestly believe that this is something you guys could work out. I mean, look, worse stuff happens, I think if your husband was on the right page, here's what I think ideally should have happened. The next morning is always the most difficult, right? But you could say to your husband, my best friend just texted me and this is what happened and this. It's very upsetting. You know where your husband's head is now. He enjoyed it, but he doesn't regret it. But you should definitely reach out to your friend via text and say, first and foremost, I'm sorry because you did push this. You pushed this when she was vulnerable. And you messed up. I think you did. If you come to that conclusion inside of yourself, then you've got to admit it to yourself and to her first and say, look, first and foremost, I'm sorry. And yes, say it by text because she's probably so embarrassed right now that this is where text messaging and technology is great, because she probably doesn't want to talk to or see you. It's so embarrassing, right? But at least right away, send her that text that says, I'm sorry. Oh my God, we made a mistake. Okay. I made a mistake. Speak for yourself. Don't speak for anyone else. Say, I made a mistake. That should not have happened. Okay. And you'll be surprised how much how far that goes. Just acknowledging that you messed up. And then say to her in the text message, are you okay? I'm really be concerned for her. Are you okay? I want to talk to you. Can we talk on the phone? Can we see each other? Figure out where her head is. Figure out where your best friend's head is. And she may not trust you right now. She may feel like, I don't want to deal with you, and that's fine. Don't push that. If she doesn't want to deal, then don't. But at least say to her, at least can we talk? I respect your feelings. I love you. You're my best friend. I want to do right by you, but I want you to know that, I do regret what happened, but I want to talk to you and make sure you're okay. And then let her express some of these things that she's feeling, because it's just this might be her just expressing her confusion and her sort of embarrassment. It may not be that she wants to cut you out. You know what I mean? I think when people say that, take it with a grain of salt, but also just know that it could just be how she's processing her emotions and her confusion about what happened and her inability to accept responsibility for what she did, because she did it. I mean, listen, I know that you sort of pushed it, but she accepted doing it too. So maybe she's not accepting her role in this either. It will take maybe a little bit of time, but it starts with everybody admitting what was done. So go ahead and text your friend first. Fix that first, because your husband is, I don't know, he's your husband, you're married to him, and you're going to have to make it clear to him that it was a mistake and that it ruined your friendship and that it's not happening again. But good luck with thinking he's not going to want that again, girl, because he's going to want that again, if not with your best friend, then with someone else. But reach out to your best friend. Stop with the placing blame, right? Everybody is responsible for their behavior, but make sure your girlfriend is okay, and make sure she knows that you love her and that you are sorry that the situation happened and that you pushed it into happening. Okay. And then get from her, and the two of you decide on what the terms of your engagement are going to be moving forward. It may just be that she doesn't want to be around you for a little while. She's so embarrassed. Think about embarrassment, guys. Let's be real. Think about embarrassment is that embarrassment fades with time. Right? You're embarrassed to be around someone because something, oh God, I can't believe I did that. Or, whatever, I can't believe this happened. And that fades, that fades, because that's ego. A lot of that is sometimes ego, and admitting to yourself and to the others that you did something that was not cool. But that fades. That fades. If you have a real friendship, the real friendship will hopefully rise to the top. But it's not going to happen if you don't admit and apologize to her and say, hey, let's talk about this, on her terms. I mean, that's all I've got, guys. What do you think? I mean, send me some feedback on this problem. Have you been in this problem? Anyone out there? I can't say that I have. I have to tell you, I mean, threesomes are just a bitch. You have to really, really, even when you set out the parameters for what you want that threesome to be, it can go left really quickly and get messy, especially when the guy is all gung-ho and he's all into the other chick. Or, I mean, there's different kinds of threesomes, right? But I'm just saying, if that's the case and he's all like, oh, this was the most amazing thing and let's do it again and do it again, I'm telling you, you have to be ready to, you just have to know what you're getting into and look at all of the possibilities, right? Well, upset. I think that's all I have for you. Yeah, good luck with that. I hope you can save your friendship. Your marriage is your marriage, and but your friendship with your best friend, it's a tough one. All right, so guys, again, this will be up on the site. It will be in the show notes. You can go to the link and give me your feedback. What do you think? Is this salvageable? Who's to blame here?